This is the Real Estate Marketing Podcast, where we teach you how to grow your real estate business. Whether you're a wholesaler, investor, or realtor, this podcast is for you. Hey, and welcome back to the Real Estate Marketing Podcast. I'm Austin Glanzer.
And I'm Adam Gritton.
And in this episode, we are going to be talking a lot about SEO and how you can grow your business through Google, through organic reach, local SEO. And we have brought on the best expert in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, Lancaster County, and maybe even Eastern Pennsylvania, west or east of the Susquehanna River, Justin Mosebach. Justin, can you say hi to the audience?
Yeah, I feel like that's a little bit setting the bar too high. But yes, I've been doing SEO for about 8 years, focusing on local SEO, which means helping businesses with either a storefront location or a service area show up highly on Google for relevant terms and get in front of their potential customers and even current customers so they can get more leads and more business.
Yeah, and I don't know if I shot the bar too high there, to be honest, because when we worked together, for those of you who don't know, we worked together at an agency called Wide Op. It was my first real job, I guess, and Justin had been doing SEO there, and I just couldn't believe all the stuff he knew. So that's why I wanted to get you on this podcast, just because I know you can just help people understand Google better. So can you tell us a little bit about who you are, what you currently do, just so they can get to know you?
Yeah. So, like I said, I've been working in the internet marketing industry since 2012, doing SEO specifically, going back a few years before that, doing some social media marketing as well. But my focus now is pretty much strictly on SEO. And so I love helping businesses compete online against either other businesses that are similar to theirs. And you're sort of competing with and against Google at the same time. And I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit more. But you're trying to sort of, in a way, game the system, but you're also trying to help users. So there's a balance, and Google's constantly changing things. And it's quite the exciting industry to be in, that's for sure.
So can you tell us a little bit about, for somebody who doesn't know, what is SEO, right? I just want to start pretty basic here for maybe somebody who has a business, wants to start a business. Can you define SEO for us?
Yeah, so SEO stands for search engine optimization. And really the only search engine that matters, of course, is Google. Sometimes I get asked, do you do SEO for Bing or other search engines? And the answer really is, if you do search engine optimization for Google, you're covering your bases for everything else. And search engine optimization, what that means is you're trying to help Google understand your business or your client's business and the website, so that the more Google understands it, the more Google can trust that when a user enters a query that's relevant to you. So let's say they're looking for a realtor in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Google's goal is to answer that user's question. And Google is a machine. So as a machine, it's trying to figure out who it should show first, who it can be most confident in showing. And so the job of an SEO is really to show Google, hey, this website over here, you should trust this website and show this website highly to a user because it's going to be relevant, and this person is an expert in this area of real estate in Lancaster specifically. So it's kind of spoon feeding Google information about your business and your website.
So this is really just a trust building thing, right? I guess you're just trying to make your website trustworthy and Google to trust that they're going to show the end user the right information. That's kind of what you're saying?
Yeah. So basically, if you think of Google, I'll give an analogy. If you think of Google like a librarian, so if the internet's the library itself, Google would be the librarian. So the user or the person at the library is walking in and saying, hey, I need a book on or I need a paper on this specific topic. Well, Google as a librarian is going to have to sift through all of the books that it knows about and point you in the right direction. And it's going to try to give you a few different books to take a look at for the topic that you're looking into. And if you think of a book as a website and each chapter of that book as a web page, so a specific page on that website, that's kind of what Google's trying to do. Google's trying to get the user the most relevant information the quickest it can to answer what the user's looking for. And so one example would be if Google's trying to figure out who is most trustworthy to show to you as a user who's in a library looking for a specific topic. If one research paper is cited by a whole bunch of different books, that research paper is probably pretty prominent in that category, right? So Google's going to say, hey, this is a really trustworthy research paper or book on this topic. We should probably show the user this book because a lot of these other books cite this specific book. And so, in a way, if you think of a link on the internet as a citation in a book or a research paper, for example, the more links that are pointing to a website from relevant sources, the more likely it is that Google's going to trust your website.
Okay, yeah, that is super helpful. And honestly, I hadn't even really thought of it in that way. So that was a really good example about how people can think to get their website to be trustworthy and to show up when someone's searching for their particular genre, I guess you could say, or their niche. So here's a question that I was kind of thinking about. Is SEO still important in 2020, right? Because, I think there's just so much changing going on in the way people search. So here's an example. Like, when COVID-19 was going on, everything was closed. My wife and I, we were trying to figure out what restaurants were open so we could grab some food. And anyways, I was Googling it, right? Trying to find out which restaurants were open. And my wife was like, hey, why don't you just look on Instagram? Her first thought is to go to Instagram. My first thought is to go to Google. So are less people Googling things because of social media? Like, is SEO still really important? Should you put time there? So I guess I'm asking a very long question about where should you put your time?
Yeah, so I would say it depends. It depends on your audience. Social media definitely has a role in internet marketing for any industry. I would say, or most industries, I would say, especially real estate. Right, you're trying to build a community, a network of people. As far as SEO itself goes, I would say yes, it's still important. People definitely are still Googling things. You can even do research on Google itself to see how many people are searching for relevant terms. So, for example, there's a tool that you can use with Google that will show you how many people have searched for the term realtor in your city name, or real estate agent in your city name, or homes for sale in city name, that type of thing. And there's definitely searches for those. That tool, by the way, would be called Google Keyword Planner. But you can also use a free tool, and I encourage everybody to do this. It's free. It's easy to set up. It's called Google Search Console. When you set that up, you could just obviously Google for it. When you set that up, it'll start keeping track of every time that your business's website shows up in a search result for a specific query. So you can start seeing how your website's ranking, and how many people are searching for keywords, essentially, or queries. So how many people are searching for relevant keywords in your industry and location. And you can start weighing that against where you should put your time with other things like social and advertising, paid ads, either on Google or paid Facebook, Instagram ads, that sort of thing. So I'd say there's a balance, but SEO is definitely still important in 2020.
Yeah, that was a really good answer as far as doing research to know where you should put your time. I think I was expecting an answer like, yeah, of course it's important. People go on Google, but that was really good advice of, hey, maybe it's not depending on your niche and you can look it up using Search Console. So that's great. Now, there's so many marketing businesses that are popping up all over the country, right? Like, I mean, it's probably one of the number one growing industries is like marketing. So, do you think people have to hire a marketing agency to be effective on Google, or can you do it as an individual?
I would say you could do it as an individual if you have a good understanding of kind of how, not necessarily how the internet works as a whole, but how to take your popularity offline and make yourself look popular online. Because at the end of the day, Google's trying to imitate the real world, right? So if Google wants to show the user a website that if 100 people were in the room and in your town, you were having a town hall meeting, and somebody went up on the stage and said into the microphone, "Does anybody have any recommendations for local realtors?" Whatever those people say, and whatever businesses are the most popular real estate agents or brokers in the area, whichever ones are the most popular and the most trustworthy, those people are going to say that. Google wants to show those same exact businesses' websites in search results. So Google's trying to imitate the real world. So whatever's popular or trustworthy or an expert in the real world, Google's going to try to bring those businesses to the forefront online. So really, if you do a good job building a community and building and doing good customer service, so the people that are buying homes through you just really love the experience and you're asking for reviews, for example, reviews are a great way to increase your presence on Google. I would say you don't have to hire an agency. Some reasons for hiring an agency might be, for example, I'll put it in a different context. I don't do my own taxes. I could learn how to do my own taxes. I just honestly don't care. I don't want to put the time and effort into that. I'd rather be doing other things. But I know that other people are experts in taxes. And so when it comes time for income tax season, I send my taxes away to an accountant. So should I use an accountant or should I do it on my own? Well, I'm weighing the pros and cons of, is it, do I really want to be learning about how to do my taxes or do I want somebody to just do it for me? And that's kind of the way I think about an internet marketing agency or a marketing agency. Sure, I could be spending my time on doing it, or do I want somebody that's full-time job is studying this and learning how to do it better and has experience at doing it for a bunch of other people as well?
Yeah, your analogy game is really good today. These analogies are really helping me even understand and kind of picture how these things work. So, here's a question. Somebody could be listening to this right now. They're in the car or they're running or something, and they're thinking, "Well, I'm a trustworthy person. My business is trustworthy. I help people." And they're like, "Okay, how do I build my trust on Google? I build my community, all that." Like they're trying to do that. What are some things that people could be doing that are causing them to lose trust in the eyes of Google? So, like, what are things people are doing that are hurting them?
Yeah, so what I would say is businesses, whether it's in real estate or other industries, don't always think of promoting themselves online like they do offline. So Google, like I said earlier, is a machine. And as a machine, it's not going to understand how popular you are or how trustworthy or how much of an expert you are in your field if you don't put that information online. So some of the things that I see people doing are not asking for reviews. If you ask reviews from your happy customers and they go on Google Maps and leave a review or go on other sites to leave a review, whether it's Facebook or Yelp or others. By not doing that, you're not helping yourself. So you're essentially saying, hey, competition who's doing that, yeah, you do that. I'm just not going to worry about it. It sounds too confusing, or I don't want to be that person that asks somebody for a review. You're really just letting your customers pull ahead. Everything that happens offline, if it doesn't happen online as well, Google's not going to see that, and it's not going to rank your website as highly.
So you're basically saying like not doing anything is really hurting them.
Yeah, I would say the world is moving on, and by deciding to not ask for reviews, you're it's if you think of the world if you think of the world of internet marketing and people doing searches on Google as a downward moving escalator, right? If you're not walking up, you're moving down. If you're standing still, you're moving down. So by not doing anything, you're actually falling behind your competition, because I guarantee you that your competition is thinking about these things, and the ones that are going to prosper are ones that are going to be proactive about it. So not being proactive about it, I think, is the biggest thing that I see businesses doing that's hurting themselves.
Yeah, so that was a really good analogy. Thanks for seriously, your analogies are killing it right now. So here is another question. What about like insider tips, right? Like, do you have any knowledge maybe the common person doesn't know? When we work together, you were always like, hey, Google's doing this thing in the future. Do you have any knowledge that maybe just our listeners can get ahead of?
Yeah, so I would say if if you could pick one thing to do for internet marketing that would help your SEO right now, and you definitely don't need an agency to do this, it would be to optimize your Google Maps listing. So your Google Maps listing on the back end, all of those push pins that you see on Google Maps on the back end, Google calls it Google My Business. So basically what you should do is you should make sure that either your agency or yourself, if you're an independent agent, has a listing on Google Maps. And in addition to just having a listing where you've got your phone number and website, that sort of thing, you want to make sure that you're filling out as much of that information as possible. So earlier we talked about if it doesn't happen online, Google's not seeing it as easily. We'll put it that way. So one way to help Google see that information is by putting it in your Google My Business profile. So it's filling out the profile as fully as you can, because remember, Google's a machine. So you're trying to feed it as much information as possible so that it can, as much relevant information as possible, so that it can trust that, hey, when someone's looking for a real estate agent, I should probably show this business because clearly the information is updated, it's accurate, it's consistent, and it's what the user is specifically searching for. So in addition to, like I said earlier, business name, address, phone number, making sure the website's there, make sure that you're putting as many categories as are relevant, be as specific as possible. The primary category, Google gives you 10 fields for categories, and you can't create your own category. You have to choose from the ones that Google has. The first one there is called the primary category. The rest, the order doesn't matter. But picking that primary category is super important. And then making sure that you list any other relevant categories below that. In addition to doing those, I would say fill out the rest of the listing. And then pay attention to some other opportunities that Google gives you. Most people think of Google Plus as being Google's social media network that died, and Google isn't in social media right now. But the fact of the matter is that's actually not true. Google is in social media. They're in social media on Google Maps. And through your Google My Business listing, you can actually use something called posts to, go figure, post in a timeline format, basically like Facebook or Instagram or et cetera, et cetera. You can post updates. So let's say you just sold a house and you take a photo of the people that you sold the house to or who bought the house. you can post a picture of that on your Google My Business page, talk about it a little bit, write a line or a sentence or two of text, put it up there, and Google's reading that text and seeing what you're talking about. And then people who are looking for realtors or who are Googling your business, when I find out a business for a first time and I want to learn more about them, I'm looking at reviews. I'm looking how active the business is either on social or what the content of their social media is, just to see, is this a type of business that I want to do business with, that I think will be helpful for me. So by using Google Posts, it's a brand building tactic, and it's also a good SEO tactic as well. It can help you show up for things that people are searching for on Google. So I would say, as a small step, whenever you post on Facebook, post on Google My Business as well. It takes 2 minutes to do. It's really easy, and it's kind of feeding the beast, so to speak. It's feeding Google. It's giving them more information. It's letting Google know that your business is active. It's living and breathing. And remember, the more Google can trust your business, or the information it has about your business, rather, the more likely it is that it's going to rank you highly in search results. So
Yeah,
those would
that
be a few quick tips with Google My Business that I would say.
that is really good advice, because I actually fell into the camp of Google My Business is dead for social media. They gave up on it. Only nerds use it. So you don't want to post on Google My Business. Not Google My Business, Google Plus, you said?
Yeah, so Google Plus itself is dead. This is a completely separate social media thing called Google My Business. It's social media from the standpoint of having the ability to post to it, and users now can actually follow different businesses and get those updates as notifications on their phone.
That makes sense. That's even helping me understand more. I thought you were kind of talking about the Google Plus thing at first, but you're saying
Gotcha.
Google My Business, you actually can post on, and you should be posting on there like whenever you post on Facebook or Instagram, so Google can understand you, not necessarily for likes or whatnot. It's mainly for Google.
Yeah, it's mainly for Google. Now, users do see it as well when they're looking at your business on Google Maps. So let's say uh, your business is called, I don't know, what should we name a real estate business?
Glanzair.
All right, let's say let's say somebody heard about Glanzair properties, and they say, okay, I might want to do business with them. I got this recommendation. Let me check them out first before I actually contact them. So they do a Google search for your name, and if they're doing it on desktop, it'll be on the right hand side. They'll see a map with your some photos and link to your website and phone number, et cetera, et cetera. They'll also see any of those posts that you've made down towards the bottom of it. And on your phone, it'll be the thing that shows up kind of in that top section. So it's beneficial for users as well.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. I think a lot of people overlook that. And if that's going to help Google understand you and then potentially even have people see it, I think that's a great step someone should take. Like, one of the things I love, doing in this podcast is giving people easy, tangible takeaways. And I think this is a great takeaway if you're listening to this. Like, go update your Google My Business. I know we've said this in previous episodes, and start posting. Like, I think that's really good advice. Now, we talked about Google My Business. That's an activity that you can do. We talked about link building a little bit to have people go to your website, and Google understands like, hey, this might be relevant. What other online activities should somebody who's real estate, or maybe not even real estate specific, what other things should people be doing to rank on Google?
So SEO in general kind of falls into three buckets, at least the type of SEO that helps a business rank well. And this is in addition to, this assumes that your website has information about your business on it, that it doesn't take forever to load, it's pretty quick, and you've kind of got the basics covered. It falls into three categories: links to your site. So if we go back to the library analogy again, It's citations in other books pointing to your book. So it's links from other websites pointing to your website. It's reviews. So getting positive reviews on Google My Business, first of all, Google Maps, in other words, Yelp and other places, and then content. So having a blog or putting forward YouTube videos or even doing a podcast, that type of thing, that all falls into the sphere of content. So blogging is one thing that a realtor could do to talk about the area. So let's say somebody's moving in from out of town, they got a new job in your city, and they want to learn more about that city. Let's say it's Philadelphia. So they might be Googling things like, what are the best school districts near Philadelphia? What are the best places to live for a family with young kids near Philadelphia? Those type of things. Well, if you as a realtor have a blog post about those topics, there's a chance that your blog post will show up in the search results and they'll find it and they'll say, hey, interesting. Maybe I should work with this realtor because they seem to know what they're talking about. They seem to have a good understanding of the area and what my needs are.
Can I ask
So,
a quick question here?
yeah,
Are blogs dead or alive? Like, should we be posting blog posts for user engagement, or should we be posting blog posts more for Google to understand us?
I would say yes and yes. Yes to
Okay,
both. So
that's cool.
anytime that you're doing a blog post, you want to make sure that it's actually going to be bringing value. Because even though, well, first of all, even though blogging itself is free, so to speak, it, as far as money goes, doesn't cost extra money to post a blog to your website. It does take time to create. So don't blog simply for the sake of blogging. Blog because you have something good to say that's going to help somebody else, help a potential client, or even a current client for that matter, that people will find useful. And if people find it useful, obviously people are also using Google to find useful information. So if you're posting blogs that will help people learn something new and actually bring value, then that will also help you with your SEO.
That's awesome. And so I guess I have another question that I don't even know the answer to. When we talk about blogging and vlogging, right? Like a vlog where you take a video, make a short video. We've talked about like making a transcription of that video on previous episodes and putting that transcription down on your page so that way Google can understand. I don't know the answer to this. So when you do a transcription on YouTube, is Google reading the transcription? Like, you know how YouTube automatically makes
Yeah.
transcriptions. Does it read that to help understand what that video is about, or do you have to make a transcription yourself?
So Google will auto generate captions for a video, but if you've ever looked at those captions, now it does keep getting better, but they're occasionally okay. But Google's also not going to have as much confidence in an auto generated transcription. So I would recommend using a service like the one we use is rev.com. That's rev.com. It costs $1.25 per minute of video, and you give them access to your YouTube channel, and they do everything for you. They transcribe it. They have real people doing it. It's not just machines, and they'll upload the captions straight to YouTube, and then you can use that same file to put the captions on Facebook. So you can make more use of it. Because, after all, on Facebook, a lot of times people are scrolling without their sound on. So if there's captions there, they'll be able to see those with their sound off. So it's beneficial for, I'd say, SEO and people with disabilities, hearing disabilities, and social media in general.
Okay, so we should basically do rev.com, get a transcription. I know we've talked about that before in other episodes, but the auto generated ones don't really help.
I mean, the auto-generated ones, anybody's video is going to have an auto-generated caption file. So if you want to give Google more trustworthiness that that it's understanding the content of your video, then you should upload your own transcription.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Good. So that just confirms what we've told people before. So that's good. Now, here's another question: is Google changing? So, like, are there new things that are coming out with Google that we should be looking out for with our website, or just keeping up to date on? Yeah. Like, what should we be expecting to see Google do in the next year?
So one of the things that's been happening with Google over the past, I don't know, at least 5 years, is trying to keep people on Google properties. Well, and Google's always been doing that, but over the past 5 or so years, it's gotten to the point where users aren't always going to your website to find out information about your business. So they're doing a Google search for your business name, and then they're just looking at the Google Maps result or the Google My Business listing information. They're looking at reviews that show up as stars on different websites when you do a branded search. So a search for your business name. So paying attention to that, do that yourself. Do a Google search for your business name. Obviously, your website should rank number one, but see what ranks below that, because what you see is what your potential customers are also seeing, or even current customers are seeing. So it's been termed as Google as your homepage. So Google is really the first place that people are going. They're not to learn about your brand. They're not going directly to your website. A lot of times they're going to Google first. And even if they're clicking through to your website, they're still seeing other things that are on that search results page. And Google's incentive is to keep people on Google properties. So it doesn't have any incentive to send users to your website if it can answer those questions right in Google search. So I would say do a branded search. In addition to what we were talking about with Google My Business earlier and getting reviews, do a branded search and see what those other links below your website are. Are there review stars? Do they look bad? Is there a site like Yelp or another one that shows up highly that's got 2 review stars? That doesn't look good to a user. So paying attention to that, Google's going to continue to, over the next year and into the future, try to provide answers to users without having to send the user to another source, which would be your website.
In terms of that concept of Google as the homepage, do you have any tips for people to convert people right from a Google search? Any ideas or anything you're seeing out there to help people call your business, call your real estate investment company right from the Google page?
Yeah. So going back to Google My Business, I would say using Google Posts can be really helpful. Making sure that you've got good photos on your Google My Business listing. If you've got crappy photos, people are just going to assume that your business isn't quality. So make sure that you have that. And then another thing I would say is, and this gets a little bit more technical, but make sure that you edit the title tag of your homepage. So the title tag is what shows up as the blue link in the Google search result. It's the text. And what I would recommend doing is something like this. I would have your business name first, and then I would put a colon, and then I would say realtor in Lancaster, PA, for example. And then in parentheses, after that, I would put something that helps you stand out from other realtors. So maybe that's you've got an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Maybe you're some kind of gold certified something or other. Any kind of thing that will help you stand out. People are going to see that as they're looking. You kind of have to think of your title tag as an advertisement. It's an ad, and you've only got so many characters to use in the ad, so you have to use them. You have to use them wisely, but you can make it you can help your business stand out from others by doing that.
Yeah, that's really good advice. So where can we stay up to date on Google? Like Google's always doing stuff. I think probably a decent amount of people who are listening to this haven't thought about putting stuff in Google My Business and adding posts. Where can we go to, know what to do?
Yeah, so there's different resources out there. There's plenty of people on Twitter that you can follow. There's plenty of guides out there. I know moz.com has a free online, it's pretty comprehensive too, guide to SEO. It depends, I guess, how technical you want to get. There's a person who goes by the name Rusty Brick online. His name is Barry Schwartz, and he does a video every Friday that recaps changes in Google. So what's been going on that he's been seeing. So those are more tips for how Google itself is changing, but I found them to be quite helpful.
Did you say Rusty Bricks?
Rusty Brick.
Rusty Brick. Is that his name?
Well, it's the name of the agency that he runs, but he's really more just like an expert in all things Google search.
Nice. I'll link to that in the show so people can see that. Well, that is really, really good advice, Justin. I think some of the stuff you said in here, I'm actually going to do myself for my business. I don't think I've even made one post in Google My Business. So I should definitely be doing that. I think there's probably a lot of people out there who haven't. And I think that that's just super actionable things that people can take away from this podcast, this conversation. So thank you so much for coming on here. And is there any way that people could get connected with you? Like if they have any questions or, even your agency to, grow their business?
Yeah, sure. You could email me. My email address, and we can put this in the show notes, I'm assuming, is Justin, so Justin, at improveandgrow.com. You can also hit me up on Twitter. It's JL Mosebach, so JLMOSEBACH.
Yeah, well, great. I will make sure we link all of that into the show notes. So if someone has a question or they want to, check out your guys' agency, they can do that. But thank you so much for coming on to this show today. We can't just thank you enough. I think it was really great content for people to follow and take actionable steps. So thanks so much. And I guess we'll catch you guys later.
Thanks for having me, Austin.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Marketing Podcast. Please like and subscribe for more content like this. We'll see you later.